I'm willing to bet they can't get 10 minutes out of this.
Hello, I'm Steph McGovern and welcome to the 59th series of Have I Got News For You, which makes us one of the oldest shows on television and officially puts us in the vulnerable category, which is why we're self-isolating for the next few weeks. Paul, tell us where you are.
I'm currently sitting in one of the rooms in my house, staring at the television and wondering why I can't get on other channels apart from me in Hislop. So I'm a bit bothered and rather disturbed by what's happening. But, you know, let's make the best of it. And I'm sure this is going to be one of the great shows that we've ever done, which gives you a rough idea what the rest of them have been like.
and Paul, how's the DVD business going?
Yes, I've been sort of, unfortunately, I've had to sort of stop the car boot sales because they're not very effective unless people can actually come to have a look at them. But as you can see, I have a fine array of silent films here. My Mary Pickford collection is unrivaled, I would imagine, throughout the British Isles.
And Ian, just talk us through how this technology works then.
No, this is a mixture of Zoom, Google Hangout and House Party, all of which I've been on almost constantly. And I think you'll find it works quite well. And I've put it all through a feed through the back of Paul. So, no, it works a treat.
Fantastic. Well, on Ian's team tonight is a comedian and actor who's delighted to be appearing on the show from his study. Otherwise, he'd be downstairs homeschooling his 5 kids. It's welcome to the show, Miles Jupp.
Hello, hello.
And on Paul's team, a journalist and writer whose first book, Difficult Women, A History of Feminism in 11 Fights is, and I can spot it now very prominently behind her on the shelf. It's Helen Lewis.
Hello.
Right, shall we get on with it then?
Yes, why not, as we're here?
In the news this week, following the cancellation of several high-profile sporting events, the All England club put measures in place to ensure this year's Wimbledon can go ahead.
Come on, Tim.
Tim, how out of date are you with this?
You're lucky it's not Fred Perry.
Right, we're going to start with the biggest story of the century. Ian and Miles, have a look at this.
That's me every morning, worried I've got it. That's my living room. Now that's supermarket sweep. Now that looks like 20,000 of Boris's new coppers. Yeah, it's the virus, which, you know, has resulted in the most weird set of circumstances in all of our lifetimes. The planning for pandemics has obviously not been this government's great strength. I mean, it hasn't been in very long, but I think any of the government's great strengths. And it is rather remarkable to hear them talk a slogan about it's time that we saved the NHS, which is something that they could have contributed to a bit earlier.
What's happening with the testing?
We haven't tested in the same way that some other countries have, and this is impeding it, and it may be why the lockdown has to be so severe. But I mean, that's what everyone from the World Health Organization always keeps saying, is just keep testing, test everyone. And so far, we're not testing the NHS people, so they don't know if they're well enough to go back. You know, they have to self-isolate, and then they could be going back in. So, yeah, there's a number of things that need to speed up very rapidly.
Uh-oh, there's the police.
Is these sirens from yours, Helen?
Yes, that is the police. They're coming to snipe me through the window because I went to the shop for a non-essential reason earlier.
Ian's been going out for 2 jogs a day. He's breaking the rules.
Oh, yeah, but Ian had to go out to the shops to buy a new pair of spats.
You really go through them when you're on your own, I tell you.
Well, I want to ask Ian a question. I'd like to ask Ian a question. Why has he broken into his local reference library in order to do this programme?
No, this is a very ordinary set of shelves, Paul.
How many of those books have you actually read? Or indeed coloured in?
Nearly all of them.
Carry on, Steph.
What's Trump been up to, Ian?
Trump's trying to prove that Britain isn't the least prepared and least efficient country in dealing with the virus. So he's doing us a huge favour. Though he did have a go at Britain and said, you know, Britain messed this up and they had to do a really sharp U-turn. Despite the fact that he did the sharpest U-turn of all, having originally said the virus was no problem, it was under control. Then he said it'd be all over by Easter. Now he said it's a national emergency and the whole country's got to be locked up. So
Yes.
quite a lot of politicians doing massive U-turns. But, you know, Trump thinks he will sort it.
But Ian, he actually said right at the beginning that it was a hoax conjured up by the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and then he said that it's Chinese flu, as though no one else was going to get it. And then it turned out there were people fleeing America to go to Mexico to try and avoid getting the virus. And you thought, well, there's irony. Maybe the Mexicans are going to shove up a wall. But then again, you know, we've got to be careful about being too critical, because we haven't been brilliant ourselves.
Yeah, and also, he's not observing social distancing. Here he is signing an order to ban all foreign viruses from the United States.
Good. I wanted that to be a nice signature. That was
Oh my God, I love that he pays people in pens.
But Donald Trump is not a long name, and yet it seems to take him about a minute and a half to sign his name. What is he signing?
He's signing Mickey Mouse.
He's not the man for this crisis.
You say that, Miles, but don't you think it's a shame for the world that Donald Trump didn't choose a different career? Because have a look at this extraordinary clip.
My uncle was a great person. He was at MIT. He taught at MIT for, I think, like a record number of years. He was a great super genius, Dr. John Trump. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised that I understand it. Every one of these doctors said, how do you know so much about this?
Over here, the experts talk, and then Boris nods. There, Trump talks, and behind them, the guys are just doing this. You can see them. But the approval ratings for both Trump and for Boris are at a record high. People think they're great, because the alternative is to think the virus is great. So even on those terms, they're doing well.
So the designated survivor is Dominic Raab, but maybe not for long if he carries on doing this at the daily press conferences. So he's licking his finger to turn the pages. Is that just a still, or is it going to be a clip?
I think that is video. It's him holding his finger on his tongue for ages. Room full of baffled journalists.
What do the people want according to the Mail on Sunday? Oh, sorry, who do the people want according to the Mail on Sunday?
What do they want is a lot easier at the moment. Bog roll, eggs, chopped tomatoes would be nice. I can do you a shopping list if you like. Frosties. Have you seen any Frosties anywhere?
Who do the people want according to the Mail on Sunday?
Is it Nigel Farage?
No.
It kind of depends what purpose they want him for. What do we want the person for? I mean, what is it? To be hung from a gibbet? To have rotten vegetables thrown at? I mean, what is it?
No, it's the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak.
Well, he's very, very popular.
Yeah, here he is working from home. So what's his new nickname?
Dishy Rishi.
Yeah, apparently some people have started calling him Dishy Rishi.
Well, that's fair enough.
I mean, without casting aspersions on the rest of the cabinet, the bar is low.
I don't know, there's Priti Patel.
Oh,
I mean, it's great being Chancellor. I mean, it's obviously rubbish being Prime Minister at the moment, but as Chancellor, you get the chance to just go on telly and give people huge amounts of money daily. I mean, it's fantastic. You can see Boris thinking, that's the good bit. I have to do the silly bluster and then tell them to go home and sit in a darkened room for the next 10 years. He gets to just give them a paycheck. No wonder he's popular.
Oh, there we are.
So can we move on, Mike? Because my house is actually on fire at the moment. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to spoil the show. But is it okay if I put my feet in a bucket of water?
Prince Charles had to go into self-isolation last week, but who turned up to visit him?
Was it the footballer Jack Grealish?
No.
Was it Giles Brandreth wearing a gimp mask?
Possibly, but that's not the answer I'm looking for.
It wasn't the visitor he was looking for. Recognised him by the colourful jumper.
Oh, I know this. Is this the squirrels?
Yes, red squirrels. They used to come up to his window at Balmoral, and according to the Mail on Sunday, Charles sat there waiting with his nuts on the table. Must have been wearing a kilt.
He's not at Balmoral. He's in Birkhall, which isn't rhyming slang. It's an estate.
Yeah, but his nuts are on the table in Balmoral.
In a glass jar.
There's evidence that people are beginning to lose patience, but with the prices that people are being charged in some outlets, have a look at this.
Morning. How much is this? 149, sir.
I've got 50p. Fuck you, bastard.
Okay, everyone, we're going to pick up the pace a bit now with a quick fire quiz. So fingers on buzzers, everyone.
Yeah, there's a shortage of buzzers. I went out and tried to buy some buzzers, but I mean, everyone's taken them. And then the woman said, you've had a buzzer. You bought a buzzer yesterday. You can't have one. So I haven't got one. I'm really sorry. Kent's got absolutely no buzzers. Look, Miles, get me one in Gwent, will you?
I've got.
If Miles just picked up a carrot, what have you got?
Don't spread rumours. This is from the Early Learning Centre. It's
Oh, that's good.
Brilliant. Right, you can use that.
And look, I would like to put my hand up.
Oh, it's a scrub.
Yeah. I've got a...
Oh, very good. Is that your hand?
I don't want to worry you, but your hand's got hypothermia.
Right, okay, here we go. What happened to an astrophysicist in Australia when he tried to invent a device that warned a person when they were about to touch their face? Yeah, Helen, glove.
He put some magnets up his nose and they stuck together, and then he had a brilliant idea, which was he put more magnets up his nose, but they stuck to the original magnets, and then he tried to put a pair of pliers up his nose, but the pliers magnetized and nearly took his nose off. And then, quote, he went to his girlfriend who said, all my mates A&E would really like to laugh at you, and that's how he went to hospital.
Exactly that, yeah. This is Dr. Daniel Reardon. Here he is.
I mean, I hope this photo was taken after the magnets were removed, but I think his partner probably had quite a lot of fun taking the photo of him, because he does, in fact, look quite sad and ashamed.
Yes, absolutely. This is actually a still from a remake of a 1980s film called Nasal Attraction. I suppose it's a blessing he only shoved them up his nose.
How did one man ensure that people kept at least 2 metres away from him when he was walking in the park?
Oh, this is, I saw this on your programme earlier today, yesterday, 2 days ago. There's a man walking around with sort of like a big hoop around him, so that sort of like there's a definite sort of 6 foot centre that nobody else can enter.
Yeah, let's have a look at him. I think that's brilliant. It's either a hoop for keeping people 2 metres away, or it's a belt he bought when he was much, much fatter, isn't it? A couple from Connecticut decided to spend time locked down in their home by recreating a famous painting. Does anybody know which one?
Guernica?
Helen?
No, I actually do know the answer to this, which has made me feel quite sad about my life. But it's the Arnolfini portrait.
Yeah, it is. Here's the painting they decided to reconstruct using only what they had at home. As you say, it's the Arnolfini portrait by Jan van Eyck. And here's the couple's attempt to recreate it.
Dreadful.
But at the same time, excellent.
What have this lot been doing in Watford to while away the hours?
They've rewritten lyrics to a very popular song, thereby ruining it.
Let's have a look at the video.
One day had a football match today. How can I play when we are parting? One day more. Our grandparents are miles away. They can't work Skype, we're broken hearted.
Yeah,
Dreadful.
they're from Watford.
Absolutely dreadful.
It's the...
Appalling.
Paul,
Absolutely appalling.
I don't think Paul's coping well with this lockdown, are you, sweetheart?
Well,
They're poor names.
for a kick-off, I can't believe their grandparents can't work Skype. I bet that's just what they've said.
I'm very worried by you, Paul.
Why are you worried about me, Ian?
Well, I mean, they keep discovering a lot of new symptoms. I mean, people have no taste, which, I mean, the shirt is pretty clear. But, I mean, being a really miserable bastard, I mean, I didn't know, but I'd get yourself tested.
You're calling me, you're surprised I'm a miserable bastard. You're the man who's been mentoring me for the last 30 years.
Just before the country went into lockdown and Paul lost his shit, how did hairdressers manage to keep a sensible distance from their clients?
They trained robots with 100-foot long arms to shave sideburns through open windows and skylights. Well, that's the thing actually about hairdressing. I mean, in 3 months' time, it's all going to be like the 70s, isn't it? Everybody's going to have really long hair. It's all going to look very untidy. People will do their own individual eyebrows, but in terms of what's actually on our head, I mean, Ian will be, well, most of us, it'll be a problem.
Let's have a look at a couple of examples.
That's very clever.
Yes, this is the news that the Grand National may have been cancelled, but we can instead watch the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse racing for the finish line. This whole situation is batshit crackers, and ironically, eating them is how this whole thing started. Several well-known people have contracted the virus, including Harvey Weinstein. What a rotten year he's having. He's only just recovered from whatever put him on the Zimmer frame, hasn't he? Of course, there's been plenty of other news around. Paul and Helen, I'm sure you won't have missed this one. Have a look.
I bet that's one of those heartwarming stories about animals that are inexplicably friends with each other, except I don't think the basset hound is a natural predator of the chicken.
This is the news that a basset hound has become best friends with a chicken. Let's try and pick the nuggets of the story now.
Well, according to who? Does the chicken say it's his best friend, or is it just the basset hound just boasting about his social circle?
Would you like to see another picture of the two of them? Here they are next to some sun loungers.
The chicken looks more into it than the dog, I would say. But then there could be one of those sort of yin and yang couples. I mean, we all know people who are delightful but have unbearable partners. But the basset hound does look particularly miserable at times. But maybe that he doesn't photograph well.
Meanwhile, what's a herd of mountain goats been getting up to in Llandudno?
Window shopping. They've been lots of them, yeah, in London. They're sort of shy creatures normally, and but because the streets are empty, they've suddenly just sort of sashayed into town like a sort of gang of Hell's Angels, and they've got the run of the place. They're having a tremendous time. I think they don't normally come into town because they find it hard to park.
And anyone who's worried about how close they are to each other, don't be, because they've developed herd immunity.
Oh, yeah. It's all the fault of the nanny state.
Also, this one.
That goat you reserved, Reverend Andrew, it's arrived.
They often come down off the nearby headland of Great Orme, but have been exploring a bit more widely thanks to the lack of cars and people. And to be honest, like many of us at the moment, they probably just wanted a break from the kids.
No goat pun unturned in this round.
The goats on the streets are an amazing sight because for hundreds of years, they've been too frightened to cross the bridge.
Trolls.
I thought you said tolls. I thought it was a really good Severn Bridge joke.
Goats, of course, will eat anything, much like the rest of us in 2 weeks' time.
What do you mean 2 weeks? Eggs? Chopped tomatoes?
Ian, you seem to be rather obsessed with the notion of chopped tomatoes. Are ordinary tomatoes not good enough for you, or do they need to be chopped?
I've got no one to chop them.
And so to round 2, the picture spin quiz.
Hey!
So, if you could just rotate your televisions for this, here's the first one.
Beep.
Buzz.
Yes, that's a That's Jeremy Corbyn waving goodbye as his tenure as leader of the Labour Party is coming to a close. His watch is facing the wrong way, but he's saying goodbye, having sort of lost heavily at the last general election.
Yes, this is the very bad news for the Conservative Party that last week Jeremy Corbyn stood down as leader of the opposition. What did Corbyn finally admit to last week? Ian?
He admitted that he'd been right all along and that the country was now in a perfect socialist state in which the government paid everyone's wages, there were police on the streets arresting you for going outside, and it was what he'd always wanted. It was a pity it had taken a virus to do it, but apart from that, he'd been absolutely right all along.
How did Corbyn sign off his last PMQs as Labour leader?
He sent a letter to Boris Johnson which outlined his 5-point plan for what he thinks Boris Johnson should do, but there was only one problem with it. It had 6 points.
Well, he's not the only one in the party who can't count, is he? No.
Oh, someone's
Anyone
entered
else?
Miles's house.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I
Was
think someone's moving furniture. Yeah. I'll find out when this is over.
It's the bailiff.
What will we all remember about Jeremy Corbyn?
The number of people who wouldn't let him finish?
Probably when he did this.
Private rented, poor lives.
Why are you remaining neutral?
Can I finish, please? Areas that have different views on it, as indeed...
So you bring Brexit voices in?
Can I finish? Thank you. I think we've fought a very good piece of opposition to what the government's been doing. We
leave voters, Jeremy. Leave voters may argue that they are betrayed.
Can I finish, please?
I think you have. With everything that's going on in the world, this is the story that's dominated the front page of the Morning Star. Jeremy Corbyn says the government's unprecedented financial bailout proves that he was right. Really, I don't remember him predicting a worldwide pandemic because some bloke in China ate a mongoose. Also, still in the race are Rebecca Long-Bailey and Lisa Nandy. Really, though, I thought they'd shut all the Nandys. Here is the next one. Anyone know what this story's about?
Is this the story about scientists being able to read from your brainwaves what it is that you're thinking? Which wouldn't be that hard at the moment because I'm basically only thinking about what the next snack I'm going to get from the fridge would be. But I think they managed to do it for about 25 to 30 words they can read.
Yeah, this is the news that a new piece of artificial intelligence can turn brainwaves into words. So in the future, we might be able to read each other's thoughts. So what's the point of that then? Did I just hear a cow moo then?
No, well, one of our brainwaves was mooing, and you've just kind of ascertained it.
I've got a cow in the room with me because milk deliveries around here are a little bit uncertain at the moment, so I'm basically squeezing no, I'll leave it there.
Why have they invented this?
So if you've got friends who mumble, you don't have to keep saying, what? You can just work out what they mean. A lot of my friends have bought them, actually.
Scientists at the University of California insist that it's been invented for therapeutic reasons rather than to read people's thoughts. So when one journalist suggested it's not really as exciting as it first sounds, the scientist replied, "No, you're probably right." According to The Guardian, what device to help with movement have scientists in Nashville, Tennessee invented?
It's a walk-in chair. A chair
Very
with the
close.
legs all very close. Oh, blimey. A walk-in sofa.
Are you necking
walking
vodka
bed.
there, Ian?
Oh, it's a galloping chaise
That's
longue.
my third.
Is it? You're my kind of man. Yeah, they've been working on a wearable spring-based contraption for the legs. So here's an artist's impression of it. Yeah, apparently these are robotic running legs that can increase a person's average speed by 50%. And according to the scientists' calculations, Usain Bolt's top speed would increase from 28 to over 50 miles per hour. Professor David Braun told The New Scientist, We think that it's more likely to be used for recreational rather than military purposes. Oh, David, you've not seen Iron Man, have you? Moving on, it's going to take more than a global pandemic to kill off the odd one out round. So just one between you this week. Your four are Vladimir Putin, Princess Beatrice, Mr. Motivator, and Daniel Craig.
3 of them are former KGB agents.
Ah, but which 3?
Well, Putin's famously, Mr. Motivator was the 6th man. I don't know if that's public knowledge yet, but you're welcome. And Daniel Craig was part of the Browder network. She, of course, is apolitical.
Buzz. Princess Beatrice's wedding has been postponed because of the virus. Putin has postponed his latest move to become president for life. The James Bond film, the next James Bond film, has been put back to November. And Mr. Motivator, I've got no idea, has lost his motivation, so he's the odd one out.
Mr. Motivator has regained his motivation because he's back on TV.
They've all had their plans postponed, except for Mr. Motivator, who had no plans but now has a new job. So what's Mr. Motivator's new job?
If you think that Joe Wicks is a bit kind of clean cut and wholesome for you, then Mr. Motivator will do it in smaller lycra and with more innuendo. No, have you not seen he did a manoeuvre called Ride the Horse, which was really not what I wanted at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Did he not ride well?
No, it was very poor form, actually, now you mention it.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I always like a bit of dressage in my pornography. It's something else to look at when you... Do you know what I mean?
Makes a change from all the dog shows. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not everyone watching at home will remember Mr. Motivator, so here he is in his 90s heyday.
Time's all about is having some fun. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Get off! Listen, guys, I will see you later on, and hopefully he won't be here.
There we are, Mr. Motivator.
It's terrible when you see couples split up on television. Just when they seem to be getting on so well.
According to a recent interview, the fitness fanatic has 10 to 15 new unitards.
Well, you just get through them, don't you, in this sort of weather?
And each come with a matching bum bag. Anyone here got a unitard? Ian?
I was slightly confused there. I thought unitard was what Len McCluskey ran.
Who's the new exercise guru that Mr. Motivator will be up against?
Joe Wicks. Lovely box fresh Joe Wicks.
Here he is.
He's squeezing the fuck out of them beach balls.
Was he in Poldark?
No, he wasn't. No, he's just a fitness guy.
Oh, right.
Not everyone with abs is in Poldark, Ian.
Yeah, some of us are resting.
What's this man been doing in his garden this week?
Dancing.
Yeah, Joe Tracini. Have a look at this.
So starting 5th, and slowly it's 5, 6, 7, 8. Mantis, slide, ball, change, star, fish, shoulder inversion, tiramisu, weight, beef toe, beef toe, beef toe, beef toe, beef toe, beef toe, beef, pose, ball, change, shit, kick, roll! Sexy kitten, reverse the worm, reverse the worm, reverse the worm.
Has everyone got that?
Yeah. Ready when you are.
That's fantastic.
It's already
That's
reversed my
Tracini there.
worm just looking at him.
What recent delay has Daniel Craig been subjected to?
James Bond, the film, which was going to come out in April, has now been put back till November, and it's got some title like Die Today or You're Dead Now or There Is No Pulse, something like that.
Yeah, the release of his latest Bond film, No Time to Die, has been pushed back to the autumn.
Sorry, that's a great title. Sorry, I'm just interrupting. It's literally called No Time to Die.
Yes.
Yeah, the working title was Dry Cough, but they changed that.
he was a Russian agent in a subplot. Dry cough. Never mind, carry on.
Yes. Brilliant. Absolutely.
Since September, Beatrice has been thwarted in her attempts to marry fiancé Edoardo Mapelli-Mozzi, an Italian noble who the Telegraph described as technically a count. This is the fourth time that Princess Beatrice's wedding has had to be postponed, leading to mixed feelings for Prince Andrew. On the downside, his daughter's wedding has been postponed, but on the upside, there are no longer any flights to America. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week's features as its guest publication, Toy Soldier Collector, the magazine for toy soldier enthusiasts. Each reader gets a weekly pull-out. That's a couch their wife makes up for them to sleep on. And we start with, my miniature what upsets a surprising number of people?
Sense of what actually constitutes 2 metres.
I know. My miniature tribute to the Weimar Republic.
Very close. My miniature collection of Nazis attending the Nuremberg rally upsets a surprising number of people. This is, of course, an article from the Toy Soldier magazine about the darker side of military miniature collecting. Here are the pictures. Here they are.
There's nobody there. apart from the Rolling Stones tribute band they've got at the front. Where's the crowds?
Next, Britney Spears forced to deny what?
That she's got a brother called Broccoli.
Is it Jesus 3 times on the night of the Last Supper?
Yes, that's it.
No. Britney Spears forced to deny she can run faster than Usain Bolt. This week, Britney Spears had to deny that she could run faster than Usain Bolt after accidentally claiming to have run 100 metres in 6 seconds. Way to go, Britney. Next, warnings to stay home reissued after what on canal in Cumbria?
Is it Viking procession of boats?
No. Warnings to stay home reissued after woman rides inflatable flamingo on canal in Cumbria. Sounds like a euphemism, doesn't it? Yeah, this week the flamingo rider was snapped on Ulverston Canal. Here she is. Well, technically, she's still on her own. She's self-isolating, isn't she? So, what's wrong with that?
Doing some exercise.
We don't know what type of exercise from this angle, but yeah. The deeply concerned local citizen who took the photo spoke to the North West Evening Mail and said, at the end of the day, people are dying and people are not understanding why we need to stay at home, said the passerby who'd been out there in the sunshine wandering down the canal path taking photos of people. Woman's surprise spa break ends in disappointment after what?
This is very much my territory.
Yeah.
Her husband took her round Spa with an R.
Yeah,
so it wasn't a spa break. He took her around a whole load of supermarkets, which nowadays would be quite a treat.
Yeah. Woman's surprise spa break ends in disappointment after boyfriend takes her on tour of spa shops in the Midlands. This is Sue Pakey from Birmingham, who'd been promised a romantic weekend away, only to be taken to 9 spa shops in the local area. Here's the happy couple. Don't worry though, he's made up for it because he's promised her a holiday to Iceland.
Oh, look, Ian, in the background, if you bring the photo up again, Ian, there's some tomatoes in the corner. There they are, look.
Hang on, let's have a look.
They're not chopped, he won't want them. He won't know what to do with them.
Oh, that's true, no. Yeah.
Look nice, though.
And lastly, phantom vegetable thrower in Devon, what?
Replaces Ocado deliveries.
Causes havoc with lobbed leek.
If the phantom vegetable thrower in Devon is a real turnip for the books.
That was worth staying in for.
Yeah.
It's worth going outside for.
Right,
Blimey.
the answer. Phantom vegetable thrower in Devon sought by police because one Swede hit the windscreen of a police armed response patrol car, which left the occupants feeling fine but annoyed, making it the second most annoying Swede for drivers after Greta Thunberg. Right, the final scores are in. What are they before I announce them?
Miserable bastard 1.
Paul 2.
So the final scores are Paul and Helen have 7, Ian and Miles have 4.
Hey!
The world's ending and you still care about the score.
Very well done. Very well played.
Once again, life is worth living.
But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
NHS staff unhappy with government's personal protective equipment.
Brilliant.
I never knew I had 7 identical brothers. I'm sure this flat was bigger when I first viewed it.
Despite appearances, we are genuinely thinking outside the box.
That's brilliant.
Very good.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Miles Jupp, Paul Merton and Helen Lewis. And I leave you with the news that, despite the curators going to great lengths to keep it a secret, many people at the National History Museum press launch are guessing that the new exhibit might be a dinosaur. At Crufts, hopes for a top prize are dashed as a breeder realises she's brought along the bath mat by mistake. Good night.